all of the people who are listening to you and can't see via Skype, I
Yes.
want everybody to know I am doing this from the bedroom of the house where I'm living now in honor of Stephanie Miller. Not
Aw.
everybody gets that sort of benefit of, you can read into it what you will,
Yes.
but my deep love, abiding affection, and long-term desires for Stephanie Miller, I am coming to everybody now from a bedroom.
Thank you. Thank you,
Aw.
David. You are a saucy little minx, and I love you. Quick hits news. I love you. Countdown. Neil, from the Keith
Yeah.
Olbermann Countdown
Wow.
show on MSNBC.
Oh, yeah, Keith Olbermann had a show. I remember now.
And then we went to current. Anyway,
Right.
now it's quick hits news. It's on stephaniemiller.com. But anyway, you are still doing, I still love you back. And how about what's happened to journalism since you and I last spoke? I mean,
Wow,
it's just how dangerous this both sides do it-ism, whether it's Russia, David, or coronavirus. When the president does his usual lies and crazy conspiracy theories about coronavirus, if you were just report it, you're putting out dangerous misinformation that is killing people. How do you cope in this age?
It is killing people, and I think the media, for the most part, a lot of the so-called straight news organizations are anything but straight, and people have lost the courage to actually report what they know to be true and to challenge things that are obvious falsehoods. And so I think we become so partisan in so many ways, so tribal in so many different ways, that no matter what kind of theory you want, there is some sort of large so-called news organization out there that will amplify your crazy ideas. And I think it causes a terrible, terrible problem for all of us in society. And, it's sort of like we're all flat earthers again now. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Well, David, it's as I was saying, I think because it's my particular, he was not legitimately elected in the first place. And the fact that he is clearly a Russian asset. And how many stories do you have that he does Russia's bidding at every... So, of course, they're going to throw out, oh, well, yeah, Russia's interview. Oh, but so's Iran and China, and so it's all the same. And it's not all the same. We have, as we were saying, Republican senators actively laundering Russian disinformation to try to hurt Biden right in front of our faces. We have him ignoring bounties on our soldiers. We have him doing whatever Putin wants. Get out of World Health Organization. Get out of NATO. Destroy. I mean, there's like a checklist that he's gone through. Right?
Right. And I think that the both sides reporting in journalism is abhorrent. I mean, look, you can identify everybody on this planet has a preference for who they want to win this election, whether it's Biden or Trump or somebody else. But there's a difference between having a preference and actually taking very active steps to put your thumb on the scale of the election results, to feed information through members of the U.S. Senate, to try to disinform the American public. I mean, there are active steps that we've identified over and over that Russia took 4 years ago, that they're taking again now. And so I get your point to throw in, as some members of Congress and some journalism folks are saying, oh, well, but China has a preference and other countries that, well, no, so what?
Right.
Everybody has a preference. The question is who's taking the active steps.
David, it's funny. I just thought of this letter from a listener because it just goes to your point in terms of just of all of us having 2016 PTSD and I remember thinking at the time, David, oh, this nonsense sex ring pizza basement isn't going to, that's ridiculous. Even if you hate Hillary Clinton, you don't think she runs a child sex ring. Well, there was a percentage of the population that believed that Facebook didn't check anything, all of the disinformation that was put out. And just listen to this. I just want your reaction as a journalist. This was just from a listener. I've heard versions of this, but Abby says, hey, Mama, I've been seeing something much more of lately that's starting to make me nervous. I'm a white married mom of young kids in my 30s living in the Midwest. Much of my circle of friends, same demographic. None of my friends are Trump supporters, at least to my knowledge. In fact, most don't pay attention to politics at all. Over the last few weeks, however, I've been starting to see more and more posts about this conspiracy theory about a large organized child sex trafficking ring involving not only people we've heard before, the Clintons during Pizzagate, but also now Obama, Biden, Tom Hanks, Chrissy Teigen. Part of this conspiracy also involves the narrative that Trump is secretly trying to expose all these people, even going so far as the reason he was in photos with Epstein is because he was spying on him, a massive cover-up by the complicit media. Now Midwestern moms who may not care about Russia, the dismantling of our democracy, but their ears perk up when they hear child sex trafficking. All of a sudden, more and more people are starting to think Trump's our savior from this supposed evil. A basic search reveals this is QAnon, but it seems to be gathering steam. I have to tell you, it's making me nervous. And David, you and I would think, well, oh, that is just insane. But that's what you wonder. This is what Russian disinformation is about, right? And people don't realize that whether it's Facebook or wherever they're reading it, right?
Right. I mean, people are being brainwashed, and they don't quite realize it. And you take average, normal, rational people who may not consume a lot of news, but then they hear something like this and think, "Look, my late father used to." He would ask me, I'm reading all these horrible things about you. I'm like, Dad, where are you reading them? He's like, the internet. And I'd say, well, don't you know that on the internet they make things up? Well, why would people do that? I mean,
Oh
there's a certain
God.
generation. There's a certain generation in our society that doesn't understand that people go out there and deliberately lie and use the media to deliberately lie and deliberately lie in politics. I'll give you another example. A very good friend of mine, and his father's, conservative leaning, but no big sort of Trump supporter, was spouting the talking points the other day about, well, we can't trust the U.S. Postal Service because of the mail-in ballots. And I'm like, well, wait a second. We trust the Postal Service for our tax returns, for our tax refunds, but now we can't trust them for election ballot. I mean, this is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But that's exactly what they're doing. Right. So Nixonian hashtag Friday Night Massacre was trending about what just happened at the post office. Right. 23 postal executives were reassigned or displaced. Friday. It's always Friday night, right? You know that in the news business. Yeah, and I love what's his name. Louis DeJoy said, "Let me be clear with regard to the election mail. The Postal Service and I are fully committed to fulfilling our role in the electoral process." Well, that role appears to be to cheat for Donald Trump. I mean, this is one of the many ways. It's not just Russia. We have the post office. We have all of these things. This perfect storm coming at us, don't we, for this election?
It's a very frightening time. I mean, if you can't count on the U.S. Postal Service to deliver your mail, even if it happens to be a ballot, then what can you count on? And
Right.
so you're saying to people, okay, well, don't go to mail-in balloting, even though we have a pandemic that's killed 163,000 people, and we just passed 5 million cases, by the way. Yeah, go ahead and stand in line at some of these polling locations, which, by the way, we've eliminated the number of polling locations in some urban Democratic areas, so that you're going to have to wait in line for 4 or 5 hours and hope that you're 6 feet apart and that you don't catch any. I mean, there are a lot of people who won't vote under those circumstances because they don't want to put their lives in danger.
David,
And is that the society we want?
I've said this every day that this is Republican going, oh crap, we can't make black people have to, get childcare and take off work and stand in the rain for 9 hours. Well, now how are we going to win? I mean, they're clearly panicked that too many people are going to be able to vote. I mean, that's because, as you say, this has never shown a partisan preference. As you know, many states have voted by mail for years, deeply red states like Utah. And you're right, it goes beyond that to criminal when you're talking about during a pandemic. I mean, I don't even go to the supermarket. I'm so, a lot of us cannot afford to get sick without losing our entire businesses. Or we have parents that we desperately want to see. Or we have, some responsibility, right, to family, coworkers. Anyway, you tweeted, it's been a week since the $600 a week extended unemployment benefit expired. Millions of people missed rent payments. Millions more are struggling to pay for food. And our leaders refuse to compromise to reach a deal. This horrifying year is only getting worse. But again, David, I would say it's not leaders. It's Republicans. It's Trump. As Nancy Pelosi said, give me 12. It was unconstitutional slop what the president tried to do on.
In fact, what the president did is, I agree with the Republican senator said, it was unconstitutional slop. While it has the illusion of saying we're going to have a moratorium on evictions, it says, I'm going to ask you, the folks in charge to study if that's feasible. While he says he's going to do the payroll tax, what he's doing is undermining Social Security and Medicare. These are illusions.
Can you believe journalists show up at this thing at his golf club that costs $350,000 a year to join, so a bunch of guys in golf shorts can clap for him gutting Social Security and Medicare and announcing that he's just created Obamacare? I mean, it's...
Well, what I can't believe is that journalists would show up and then just act as a transmission belt and say, well, Donald Trump said the following, without pointing out that, yes, we fund Social Security, Medicare by the payroll tax. And look, there are ways. If Donald Trump wants to eliminate taxes, payroll taxes, and people who make less than $100,000, great. That would be wonderful. Then start the payroll tax on $100,000 and up. So if you make, say, $1 million, you pay that 6.5% based on your $1 million in income. That would be wonderful. That's a great way to save the Social Security system and give a break to people who are working class. But to not know then, if you're a journalist, to not know what the payroll tax does, and to just take it as, oh, he's going to eliminate the payroll tax. No, that is undermine. You can't fund Social Security if you undermine the payroll tax.
I love that they call it holiday. It's like, hey, wait, I just retired. Where's my Social Security and Medicare? What? Hey. It's like payroll tax holiday. Okay, so the good news is Fox News, who has been saying that Joe Biden is decrepit and sleepy and nearly dead, had to air him riding a bike. So this was yesterday.
Join Peter now in Rehoboth Beach. Hi, Peter.
Mr. Vice President, have you picked a running mate yet?
Yeah, I have.
You have? Who is it?
Who is it?
You.
Ah!
So he punked a doozy, which is always fun.
Yeah.
Punking a doozy should be a TV show. But also, I mean, so now there's footage of Trump barely being able to walk down a ramp and Biden riding a bike. I mean,
this was brilliant politics by Biden. I mean, to be able to essentially put the catnip out there, Fox News went for it. Of course, Fox took it and ran with the headline that Biden has picked his running mate, not realizing that what Biden was doing is saying, okay, I'm going to reach out to millions of people who may not necessarily see me and show them that I'm fit as a fiddle. I can ride a bicycle. I can answer questions. And on the same day that Donald Trump was waddling around a golf course, all right, you'd make the conclusion as to who's in better physical shape.
Well,
and there's Fox saying, "Oh, he's made a decision. He's made a decision." Yeah, like he's really gonna tell Fox News is gonna be the first person that he says when I've made a decision.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, plus it's such a dumb strategy, isn't it? To go, this guy's decrepit. That's 3 years older than me, and I'm frequently photographed not being able to walk down a ramp or drink water with one hand. You know.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, I would suggest that there are vulnerabilities that both candidates have. I don't think Joe Biden's. It doesn't make, to your point, it doesn't make sense in politics. You want to hit somebody for something that's a little bit different than you. If you have a problem as, say, an adulterer, you don't want to accuse your candidate of being an adulterer. If you have a problem with physical fitness, as Donald Trump clearly does, it doesn't make sense to sort of go after Joe Biden's physical fitness.
It was the Daily Show, David. That's why it was so brilliant. They used all Fox commentators who were talking about how decrepit Joe Biden is, but it was all clips of Trump not being able to pronounce words and stumbling and just his general insanity, right? I mean, this is going to be the 3 months of our life, isn't it? These next 3 months. And then who knows how long after the election.
Right. I mean, I think it's 85 days until the election day. And then it's however many days after that when we're either still counting ballots. Look, here's my hope. And I'm pretty confident that I don't think this election is going to be close. I don't think it's going to come down to one or two states. I think it is going to be a landslide. I think it's going to be tsunami for Democrats. I think we will know on election night that Joe Biden has won the presidency. And then the only question is going to be, who goes to Donald Trump? Is it one of his children? Is it one of his close advisors? Is it Jared Kushner and says, all right, for your own sake in history, for your own reputation?
Is it Maxine Waters? I have favorites of people that I would like to be the one to tell them to get the out. I have favorites. Hillary, maybe. I don't know. There's favorites. Here's what I watched. I mentioned that I've been in quarantine and haven't been touched by a human since March, David. And you said some married people it's the same thing. So thank you. That was comforting. But
sure.
I watched Seabiscuit I don't know why I'd never seen it in my quarantine this weekend. And there's one thing where not Seabiscuit, but he falls off the horse and he gets his foot caught in the stirrup and gets dragged and then runs into a bar and shatters his leg. Anyway, that's what this feels like already. Don't you feel like we've fallen off or being dragged? And then it's just like, how long are we going to be dragged before this is over and we can assess the damage and start to heal?
Well, that's the sad thing is, we may have the political damage in terms of Donald Trump. Maybe that will be over in 85 or 86 days. But until there's a vaccine, I mean, what do some of us do who have family members with underlying conditions we can't afford to get the virus? And so, yes, it may feel great. And I think, a lot of people will be so happy when Joe Biden becomes the next president of the United States and Donald Trump announces that, yes, he has lost. And I do think that that's going to happen in 85 or 86 days. I don't think it's going to be close. But there's still a long hole that we have to dig out of in terms of finding a vaccine and figuring out how to mass produce it and determining who's going to get it first. And there's so much repair work.
Oh, my God. I know.
Yes.
I think you're right. I don't think his Garfield anus lips will actually form the words lost. Like, I don't think he can. I don't know. Whatever. Fake, rigged. I would have made America great. Whatever he says. I don't care. When Hillary tells him. And then laughs that laugh. Yeah. Laughs that big Hillary laugh. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Come on. Let Hillary. Okay. A girl can dream, David. I dreamed that I would have you back in my life. And look, here you are.
Here I am. Well, Quick Hits News is always there for you on StephanieMiller.com. We are honored that every day, our 15-minute sort of daily news show where we take viewers and listeners around the world and across the United States, top stories from 5 or 6 really classy network-level journalists. They boil it down to a minute and a half. We trade reporting anecdotes and really not much opinion. Just here's what's going on in the world and across the United States. maybe we're onto something. Who knows? But I'm honored that you guys would put us on your.
You are still somebody. You will always be my somebody. I love you. Goodbye.
Thanks,
Love you
David.
too, Stephanie.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Bye.